Well, the drawing that I have here has been converted from an AutoCAD drawing, which has come from a survey firm, and we've converted it via DXF into a form that gCADPlus can understand. The first step I would do when looking at a drawing such as this, surveyors often work in meters, and in landscape design work we work in millimeters. So I just want to make sure and check, trying to measure something that I have some idea of its size. Now let's pick this line here, which is for a porch, and I pick it, come over here in the properties box, and you can see all the hieroglyphics that are in the properties box itself. So it's clear with angles like 108 degrees, 5 seconds, 12 minutes that this is using units that we're unfamiliar with. The length though is 4.5, so that confirms to me that this drawing has been done by a survey firm that uses meters. The next thing I'd look at, let's zoom out a little, is just look at the layers, and I'd be scrolling down through here and looking to see which layers are turned on and which are off. Am I missing any important information because some layers are turned off? So I'd select all use layers and say I want the visibility on, and bingo, then I see a whole lot of new material. So I have a survey drawing drawn in meters with all of the layers now showing, but reporting to me in the properties box some unusual angles and length measurements. So let's go to Format and go to Drawing Units, and we'll just check our linear units are decimal, our angular are degrees, minutes and seconds, so we'll move those back to decimal degrees. The output precision we can leave as is, so we can just OK that. Now when we go back into that porch, and we can pick it, and now we get length 4.52 and the angle 108.087, so it's just past the vertical, isn't it? So 0 would be out here, 90 to there, 108. So I'm much happier with the drawing. I can now work with it. I'd probably be inclined at this stage to eliminate the title block, but I'll just hesitate a little because there might be some other information in the title block that's going to be important. So the next step will be to select all and scale it by 1000, and then we'll have a drawing in millimeters. We'll to scale a drawing and turn it from 1 in meters to 1 in millimeters. We'll go Tools and Selection and select all. Remember, we've turned on all layers. Now we can, and by the way, 6,724 entities in the drawing, so there's lots in it. So I can right click now and go to scale, or pick it from the modify drop down toolbar, and we're asked for a base point. So I'll type 0, 0. You don't have to do that, but it's good practice, and our scale factor will be 1000. And the design appears to disappear, but everything's been magnified, of course, and we can zoom extents and regen and zoom extents again. Now what that suggests, you may be able to see on the right hand side over here that there's our design, and by the way there's some extra bits and pieces which interest me greatly. They are the terrain model that is just a copy of what's over here. So our survey firm has sent us a whole lot of information that we really do not need. So I'm more than confident to get rid of all that and this bit down here, and then we'll zoom extents again, and we still get the same problem. Now surveyors work from what are called a I'm trying to think of the terminology, but it's a benchmark. There's a somewhere near the site will be a survey point that the surveyor will pick up and then hop to get to the site. And I suspect that the marker has been put down in here, and that's a piece of text which is set a post. So it's way, way away from our site, so I'd be confident about erasing it. And we'll just try zoom extents again, regen the drawing, zoom extents again, and you can see we're getting closer, but there's still some, I don't want to be insulting, but rubbish in there. So now we've got what we want, and I'll zoom in on that area in the front of the building, and we'll just select that line, that porch line again, and there we are, 4525. And I'd be confident now that this drawing is in a format that we can start working with it. Our biggest issue is going to be turning off and perhaps locking those layers that we don't need when we're going to add landscape designs. By the way, just to illustrate, now that we've done that, we can go to Library, Plants, Standard, and we can just pick up one of the standard symbols, which you may remember are designed to be 1 meter or 1,000 units in width as they come in, and by that you can also see a huge number of layers. All this rubbish has come from the AutoCAD environment. I keep saying rubbish, but they're blocks. You can see they're bits of hatching and even some paving indicators and so on. But I digress. We have just added plant symbol, and we'll insert it into the drawing, and we can place it, can't we, on the porch. Let's imagine it's a 1 meter wide symbol sitting in some sort of container. If we had it out here in the garden area, we could just right click and scale it, click, and then drag it up. So if we hadn't done that scaling, our symbols would be a problem for us, as would a layout sheet. If we do a layout now, we can go to an A3 sheet and set a scale of, say, 500, and it will all fit on the page nicely. If we hadn't scaled it, you have to start doing mental calculations when you make your layout sheets. So we've made some progress. Well, we now have the drawing in a state where we can begin working with it. The next phase is quite tedious, but certainly easier than going out on site and measuring it yourself. The mesh that's laid over the surface, which we saw was duplicated in the drawing, and we've now removed that, is on a layer called 058 8000. So let's get rid of that one. Not get rid of it, but we'll turn it off. So that should clean things up just a little. What I'd be inclined to do is look at some of these figures here, which are sort of spot heights. That's NS-03. Let's have a look at this one. NS-03, and that one can certainly be turned off. You're unlikely to use it yourself. So we're looking for NS, which I imagine stands for natural surface. So let's get rid of all of these, and we'll see that's cleaned things up quite a little in that area. I'm a little puzzled as to why these are on separate layers, but that's on a WAE 03 and this one on WAE 04. So let's pop in again, and WAE 3 and 4. The reason that there are so many layers here is that the surveyors use very complex and hugely expensive, thousands of dollars per workstation software to do this sort of work, to create these sorts of designs, and they use what are called total stations and do complex calculations to give these contour values. So I think we can take out WAE, and we've removed those. So I'm going to leave the rest of it to you to go through if you were following along with me in this particular design. But I think you can see, but by working our way through, we are cleaning the drawing up. You still need to be aware, by going File and File Size, that this is a very big drawing, 1.8 megabytes, generated by some really complex software, and you're using a piece of software that costs $100 and you're expecting perfect performance. I think that's a lot to ask of a tool like gCADPlus, but hopefully, all things being equal and with your fingers crossed, you should be able to work on this drawing and now add landscape design features from the gCADPlus library. The survey firm, of course, have put in their own symbols, and when I click on that one I see an enormous number of points in it. That's why the drawing is so big. So if you don't need tree 03, or that's probably an existing tree, you're probably stuck with such an awkward looking symbol. And the same might well apply over here to that hatching. That's on a layer called hatch. That's actually worked quite nicely in the translation. So, best of luck working with a drawing as big and complex as this.